I like to catch redfish, and Bree loves to catch mahi. So what's your favorite fish to catch, freshwater or saltwater? We've got it all covered here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Well, it's that time of week again for the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Welcome back, everyone. We're your hosts, Bree Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, introducing you to your captains from around this great state of Texas to tell you all about the weekend bite. Let's check in with Dave Farrell over at the CCA Workbench. What's going on over there, Dave?
We're going to talk about frogs tonight. We're going to get froggy in Texas, yes.
Getting froggy.
I like the frog.
Well, guys, I must say I'm super excited because all three of us are on billboards all across the state.
How cool is that, people? You know, we've partnered with CCA, and certainly we're partners in conservation, and those billboards say it all.
Yes, they do. So keep an eye out, spread the word, and if you're feeling photogenic, snap a selfie and post it on our Facebook page.
That would be really cool.
Right? We could be in a selfie with you. All right, well, starting us off tonight from El Paso to San Angelo, Waco, and continuing to Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, your guide from the Startron Middle Fresh region, here with all the bite action info you'll need. Let's get to it, Stephen.
All right, here we go. We're right here at the 1st of May, and May in my region, what that means is some great topwater action from frogs to spooks to, you know, any kind of topwater bait you like to throw for the bass. And the crappie are in a full swing, too. We're going to start off talking about Sam Rayburn this week. The topwater bite is really going good. These fish are coming off the edge of the hay grass and off the edge of the matted hydrilla. And if you're not in an area where the hydrilla is matted, a lot of the hydrilla is 6 to 8 inches under, which is perfect for throwing some kind of topwater across the top of that, getting those fish come up out of that grass and eat it. The best kind of topwater baits I like to throw, and everybody around in our area does, is the Yellow Magic, a regular size popar, in any kind of prop bait, low tiny torpedo. There's a bunch of other kind of wood prop baits out there too. Those work real good. The other thing to remember is when you're throwing your topwater, I like to tell everybody you cannot work this bait too slow. What I like to do is cast it out, let the bait hit, and let all the rings from the bait hitting the water totally disappear before you even start to present the bait and work the bait back to the boat. You'll really be surprised about how many bites you'll get without even moving the bait. Another big key is if you're fishing in a pocket or on a main lake, anything, and you've got a little chop or a little ripple on the water, when that's going on, let's go with a bigger bait. I like throwing a Magnum popper, I like throwing a Super Spook, and I like throwing a Whopper popper. And in these conditions, what you're going to do, you're going to work that bait quite a bit faster and harder than you would on a calm condition to get those fish's attention down in that grass, on the edge of that hay grass, to get them to come out and bite it. And one thing to remember, if you go in a pocket and you get to pick between fishing on the calm side and fish on the windy side, you always want to fish on that windy side of the cove. The best colors in these baits are anything shad or perch color, and the best depths are going to run from like 3 to 7 feet of water in there.
That's
I'd
good.
like to jump over and talk about some crappie fishing.
All right, let's talk about it, bub.
Okay, I'm going to kind of combine Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn together because these lakes are so close together. It's kind of the same thing going on at both lakes. The bridge areas on both lakes are really working good. The 147 and the 103 bridge at Sam Rayburn, and over on Toledo, the Lannan Bridge, the Pendleton Bridge, and the 6 Mile Bridge. And also on these areas, you've got docks on Toledo Bend that stick out further than other docks. And these docks that stick out further kind of act like these bridges, because these bridges are areas as these crappie are coming out from spawning and heading back out to the main lake. And if you look at these little coves and pockets as these docks stick out, what you want to do is try to find one of those docks that stick out a little bit further than the rest and are right at the mouth of one of these spawning pockets. And what those fish will do, they'll either set up on the dock or they'll set up out in front of the dock on the shad, waiting to move out. On the bridge and the dock fish, you want to stay with your live bait. Fish 8 to 12 feet of water, and the jigs work good some, but those live minnows really work the best. The other thing, there's still a bunch of crappie in the back of the creeks on both lakes, Rayburn and Toledo, that are spawning, and these fish are running in like 5 to 8 feet of water. Some of these pockets have some milfoil, have some hydrilla. Those crappie are hanging on the edge of those, or just on the edge of the creek bends, or on the edge of the big stumps. If you can see some big stumps close to that creek, that's a real good area. And the best bait for those crappie in the creeks, I'm throwing a 16th ounce or 8th ounce Roadrunner head with a black chartreuse or a pearl curl tail, and I also just like throwing just a regular 16th ounce jig head with the old faithful red chartreuse or a black chartreuse, tube. So I think we got a picture there of Dick Farnsworth was with me earlier this week and got a couple nice 1.5 pound big old slabs right there. We're going to take home and have a good meal.
What a great report. Thanks for starting us off this week. Stephen, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the middle fresh hotspots from your region. Bass and Sam Rayburn use topwater popping baits and frogs like the popper, yellow magic, walk and buzz frogs, fish the edges of the hay grass and the edges of the hydrilla grass in 3 to 5 feet of water, Bree.
Why you feeling so crappy? I'm a no. Get it? It was a really, really great joke. All right, let's check in with our Upper Coast captain, Caleb Harp with Harp's Guide Service, who's definitely been out there catching them up so we can tell you how to do the same from Houston to Port Arthur and into Galveston Bay. Tell them what they want to hear, Caleb.
Hey, Bree, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Just making really great jokes here,
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, go ahead, Caleb.
Save me, Caleb, save me.
I'm going to kick it off, talk about some trout. The trout have been really moving out deep, thick in East Bay, and they've been on the reefs for a couple weeks now, and the fishing's pretty good out there. It's just hard to fish in the middle of the bay whenever the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour. But a way to stay out of the wind right now is either wade fish or work birds. And being that the biomass of our fish are pulling out deep, wade fishing is starting to slow up in East Bay for sure. It's getting kind of warm. Those fish are really starting to pull off. But there have been a lot of shrimp pouring out of the marshes lately and staging the fish up in little pods. And you'll see those birds hovering over the school of fish chasing the shrimp. It's pretty easy to find. But all of East Bay has really had a lot of birds working over it for a while. But most of the flocks have been between Marsh Point and Frenchie's Reef. That's kind of where it's been a little more consistent. Smaller soft plastics like a Mirror or Little John seem to work best on your hookup ratios when they're eating small shrimp. And colors like pink or glow chartreuse seem to get more strikes when they're doing the deal under the birds. And it really doesn't matter, since they're under birds, they're going to eat pretty much about anything. But these sizes of fish are going to be pretty small, but you can grind out some keepers. Just make sure, to be careful whenever you're unhooking or releasing these small fish, not to harm them too bad when they're, that way they can swim off healthy. A lot of people I see manhandling these little fish and, they don't survive it. But switching over to redfish, the redfish can most always be found along the rocks, rock walls upstream in the San Jacinto watershed, in the upper Galveston Bay complex where the Houston Ship Channel goes north of Highway 146. This area includes all of San Jacinto Bay, Scotts Bay, Crystal Bay, and Burnett Bay. The Ship Channel and numerous barge channels up there, they keep the tide going really good. And, you got a good tide influx, a lot of different water switching through there, so it keeps those reds and trout going through there pretty good. But, the way those channels are real deep, it makes the fishing real good, allowing the fish to slide off into deep water, and then they'll come back up on those spoils to feed. But these redfish, they really use those rock walls to ambush bait. And it's kind of like little mini jetties. They'll go up and down, so fishing parallel to the rocks with spinner baits is hard to beat. But sometimes they'll want a marsh minnow or, like soft plastic paddle tail rigged on a light jig head, worked a little slower. You just got to watch out. You don't want to get too hung up on those rocks.
All right, let's go offshore, bud.
That'll work, man. Kingfish. We'll start off with kingfish, but really, man, it's been blowing every day over here on the coast. I mean, no one's really been offshore this week. I mean, it's been blowing over 20 almost every day, but the kings are still good on Stetson's Rock. And if the weather allows, Stetson's Rock, kind of talked about it a little bit last week. It's about 60 miles out of Freeport, and it's always holding a lot of kings this time of year. And sardines on double J hooks with a wire leader is really the best bet. And these kings are going to be anywhere from around, 30 pounds, maybe a little bigger this time of year. And cobia, that's really your best bet this time of year since the wind is blowing, since you don't have such a far run. And if you can get a smaller weather window, you can run, and you can't run 60 miles out to the kings, you can still get out to those cobias, which are thick on the navigation buoys, which are the red and greens from the jetties out to about 5 miles out. nearshore rigs and standpipes. Pretty much anything standing above water right now should have a ling on it. And same old deal on those kings. You know, swim baits, curly tail or bucktail jigs are good. And those kings are going to be up to about 65. If you get lucky, you can catch one a little bit bigger.
Hey, great report, Caleb. I do have a question for you. So the first week, which was a few weeks back, you reported the jetties were on fire with big redfish. What's the status with those guys these days?
They're still out there, just depending on what, weather condition or wind direction, really. I mean, they're out there, and they're going to stay out there most of the summer. It's been ripping lately, so it can get pretty nautical on those rocks. But I know for a fact the Galveston jetty's got a lot of big trout on them and reds, too. But the Sabine jetties, man, it's hard to beat on those reds over there. You know, they're going to keep those reds pretty much most of the summer, so they're still going.
All right. Well, thank you for a great report this week from the CCA Upper Coast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at those hot spots. Caleb says inshore trout, birds working between Marsh Point and Frenchy Reef in East Galveston Bay. A lot of the small fish, but you can grind it out and get some really good numbers. Small soft plastics like the Mirror Little John rigged on an 1/8 ounce jig head in chartreuse glow or pink are the best colors. And then offshore kingfish, whenever the weather's permitting. Stetson Rock 60 miles out of Freeport. Sardines on a double J-hook rig. Wire leader is certainly necessary. Kingfish are up to 30 pounds.
It's actually Mirror Lil John. Like
Lil
what?
John.
Okay.
Lil
All
John.
right. Alrighty, y'all. You're gonna want to
When you're
stay
Irish,
hooked.
Bree, you just stay away from
You
anything.
just say little.
Yeah, little. It's a
Little works for you.
It's a reaction.
Okay. Well, guys, stay hooked because we're headed to the Upper Fresh region and then have a hoppin' rigs and techniques for you right here on the Texas Insider
Little froggies.
Fishing Report.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog. He was a good friend of
Oh, I
mine.
love that song. Never understood
Three
a single
Dog Night,
word
baby.
he
Bunch of
said.
frogs.
We sing here on the Texas
Bunch of
Insider
frog
Fishing
night.
Report. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. Navionics. We start where the road ends. CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation. And Okuma, inspired fishing.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled. And finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
Remember to follow our guides and be up to date on all things fishing in Texas. Make sure to head over to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com. You can also like us on Facebook at Texas Insider Fishing Report and follow us on Instagram at TipperTV. Also, don't forget to send and tag us in your fish-tastic photos and videos And don't forget, if you see those billboards, go ahead and snap a selfie and send them in. Right now, though, it's time for Rigs and Techniques.
Well, Dave, we're here at the CCA Workbench, and Rigs and Techniques
Yes.
are your expertise, of course.
Well, I love frog fishing. I do, and I do a lot of it because I like to topwater fish. And you know, the only reason I go fishing is to watch fish eat. And you get to do a lot of that when you're fishing with a frog. You get to watch, you know, a frog bite is kind of like a blue marlin bite on a teaser. I mean, it's a big smash. I mean, he's trying to kill it.
Right.
He wants to kill that frog, and I don't even care if I hook him half the time. I just like to see him eat it. And it happened to me this weekend, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But when you're wanting to fish frogs, and a lot of people think that the springtime and, you know, right about now is a good time because you start seeing a lot of frogs, and especially in Texas, you know, you got a lot of hydrilla in the water, and you can catch frogs all year. I mean, catch bass on frogs all year round. But the best time is actually in the late summer and the fall, because all that hydrilla that gets kicked back during the wintertime, it comes back stronger and stronger and stronger. And as soon as it gets up close to the top and starts matting up real good, that's when you get a lot of fish underneath of it, and that's when you can really get good frog bites. You know, but at the same time, you know, you always want to throw around edges of cover, and what's so great about the frogs these days is they're virtually weedless. You can throw these frogs, like this is a Terminator frog from Rapala. It's one of my favorite baits because it's almost impossible to hang it up. You know, this is a collapsible frog. You know, when the soft body, when the fish comes up and eats it, it collapses.
Wow,
and there's
cool.
There's several different versions of the frogs. You know, you got these kind of frogs which are collapsible as well, but you also have solid body frogs that are like a buzz frog. That, you know, you can use this on top of the water, or you can just kick it across the surface weedless, you know, really fast. And that's what these paddle tails are for.
A few years back in Louisiana, we were buzzing frogs with these paddle tail type of legs. We were buzzing them, treating them like buzz baits.
It's exactly, the bass doesn't really know.
For redfish.
Well, a bass doesn't even know a lot of times that this is a frog, and probably doesn't care. You know, if you notice, a frog has a white belly. Most frogs have white bellies and a dark top, just like a bait fish.
Right.
So when you're
look
cruising,
at the legs on this thing.
Isn't that awesome?
It looks like Brie and a frog.
Yep, those are the lunker hunt frogs.
Wow.
But when you're cruising those things across the surface, a lot of times, you know, when you got a white frog or something like that, he thinks
she's running.
Yeah. they think it's a bait fish, not just a frog.
Right.
You know, and for that reason, it's not you shouldn't be afraid to throw a frog in open water.
Right.
You know, if you've got big, wide open water and you know that there's structure underneath there that'll hold bass, if you drag a frog over a bass, he's going to want to eat it most of the time, and he will crash onto it. And they also work great because of the way they're shaped and the way they float. They are good for skip baits. You know, you can skip under the docks and stuff. That's another thing where when you're using a frog, I like to use really heavy stuff, and this is my frog
Holy
gear.
cow, Dave!
It's
this is
a
like
huge,
a tarpon-sized bait caster.
It's a huge bait caster made for saltwater. It's an Abu Garcia, and it's made to catch great big fish. And I put 20-pound braid on it, which is a light braid compared to a lot of the guys that use. I just don't like to use that 60-pound braid or anything,
right?
Because I know I'll never break it. I never break the 20. I usually break the leader before I'll break the 20-pound braid anyway. And if I have 60-pound test braid, I'll probably break my rod before I break 65-pound test.
Right.
But you still want to use really heavy stuff, and a heavy, at least 20-pound monofilament leader and 20-pound braid and a really stout rod, because when you get a bass, when he comes up and eats that thing, first of all, what you don't want to do is jerk immediately. You got to let him eat it. And what I do is I try to keep the frog on top of the cover with my line out of the cover. Because if the line is dragging in the cover, especially if it's lily pads, then you're going to get the line hung up in the V's of those lily pad leaves.
So how do you do that? You keep the rod tip up like this?
I keep the rod tip real high, and I'm watching the frog. Don't take your eyes off the frog, because if you're looking at nature and you get eat and you jerk back immediately, you're not going to catch the fish. You got to let the fish eat the frog, disappear, and then you have to set the hook. And then once you set the hook and you got his head coming up in all that mess that he's in, because that's why you're using the frog, you're throwing into really messy places. Once you get his head out of the water, then you need a rod that won't bend over like a noodle and you can power him out, and you just don't stop reeling. Once you get his head out, you just keep chunking on it until you get him close to the boat to get him out of all that trash. You know, you want to really keep him. Once you get his head coming to you, that's when you really want to start cranking to get him scooting across.
Good job over here at the CCA Workbench. You know what? I learned a lot.
Well,
and I can't wait to get back over here for the new products in another 20 minutes.
We're going to talk about this new frog that I was using this weekend.
So I'm going to have my frog, Bree,
Wow.
run over.
Those do kind of like Bree
So
legs, don't they?
why don't you and Froggy here,
They're long.
take us to...
I really love being compared to frog legs.
They're
I mean,
long.
look
Especially
at
like
the
when
legs.
you're
They're
tall
delicious.
and you get compared to frog legs. It's just
Those
so,
are delicious looking legs.
Such a great compliment. All right, but if you guys have any products
Weird.
that you want to send to Dave and he's going to review them, you can email us at products@captainrickmurphy.com and we might just show them on the show. All right, well, Rick, you're not the only Rick who knows what's going on around here. We've got your Fresh Region guide, Rick Carter, all dialed in to give you his report for Amarillo, down into Lubbock, over to the Fort Worth, Dallas, and continuing to Lake Ray Roberts, Fork, and Levon. Let's hear it, sir.
Hey, Bree, we're going to go up north Texas to Lake Ray Roberts. This report, the spawn is winding down up at Ray Roberts, and the fish are on the move out on the main lake points and the ridges that run down the middle of the lake this time of year. The early bite is still good on spooks, poppers, and buzzbaits. Later in the morning, get on those points with sharp drop-offs. They go out to about 15 to 20, and get your 300 bandits, maybe a 5XD Strike King, all in shad patterns, and crank those points really well. You'll catch some big fish. Also, the Carolina rigs are working on those same points. Rig those up with about a 3-foot leader. We're fishing with LFT hyper sticks and tap out worms in watermelon red with a tail dip, like I say, with about a 3-foot leader. Moving on to Lake Fork, the post spawn is pretty well in full swing here at Fork. So we're fishing from mid-lake to the dam right now. That's the best producing areas right at this time. We are still fishing a frog. Dave is right about getting their head up. You've got to set the hook and get that fish out of the stuff with the frog right now. The green, dark colors have been the best because we've had a lot of cloudy weather. The first few hours of the morning, that frog is good. Later, you want to still throw the Strike King 5 and 6XD on about 15-pound line on some points on the lower end of Fork. About a 7.5-foot cranking rod for this application with the 12-pound line to get on down to the fish. And a lot of times folks want to just cast shallow to deep with a crankbait. Try different approaches with that. Try throwing deep to shallow, and sometimes you'll get a big payoff by doing that.
All right, tell me about the photo there, Mr. Rick.
Hey, that photo is a couple of corporate guys I fish with a lot, Jerry and James from Martin Company. They had a great time fishing shallow running crankbaits with me last week. Caught those on a 1.5 chartreuse black bass.
You know what I love about that photo, Rick? He's got a CCA shirt on, and guess what, Bree?
Boom. CC is the
Boom.
bomb.
I like it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about crappies.
Hey, the crappie this week, we're going to Lake Levon. We've got fish are biting over there. They're kind of post-spawn. They're on the flooded timber that's about 8 to 16 foot of water parallel with the banks right now. And the bonehead brush gliders on about a 16th-ounce head is working real well for that with a real slow fall. And this is guide Tommy Izell up on Lake Levon has been having real good success. That is a great crappie lake.
So you got a photo here?
And that photo is Colas and Noah Izell. They're setting up with some Lake Levon monster crappie, having a great time catching them.
Those guys look
So
like they're
cute.
on a mission, Rick. So I got a question for you. You know, we started off the show with Bree and I talking about our favorite fish. What's your favorite fish, Rick?
Without a doubt, my favorite fish is the big largemouth bass.
Well, somehow or another, I knew that was a safe question and good answer. I'm going to go ahead and we'll talk to you next week. We're going to go ahead and look at the Upper Fresh Region hotspots. Our captain, Rick Carter, says Ray Roberts Lake fish are on the main lake points in 8 to 20 feet of water. Bandit 300 crankbaits and shad pattern and Strike Kings 5XD cranks are producing big bass, and Lake Lavon for crappies is on fire, and they're biting in shallow willows and deep brush piles. Go shallow or deep, Bree. Minnows and black chartreuse road runners are going to work the best for those crappie.
But he says make sure you go deep and then shallow and you might have better luck, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, as big as Texas is, I can't believe it, but we are already halfway there. So if we haven't covered your region yet, sit tight, because coming right up, we're checking in with the Lower Fresh and Middle Coast regions on the one and only Texas Insider Fishing Report. Doo-doo-doo.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. And King Sailfish Mounts, www.kingsailfish.com.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better and more satisfying for boaters like you.
Hey, how do you like your Contender? How do I like my Contender? What's not to like?
Dude, I just saw a Contender, and man, I gotta get me one.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Now, certainly your power pole anchor works great in shallow water, but imagine how it can work for you in deep water. Now, power pole has created some drift paddles which attach to your 8 and your 10-foot spikes. Now, the way this works is it can actually slow your boat down up to 50%. Now, using this switch system, it allows you to drop down the power pole on one side, changing your angle. If you want to slow the boat down even more, you can simply put both down. Now, this advanced dash control actually communicates with Sea Monster, and the Sea Monster essentially is the brains of the whole system. And next week we'll be talking to you a lot more about Sea Monster, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week. So Bree, you know what I love about the paddles is, like a good example today, I was fishing and I had the anchor, but the wind was blowing me up the current. blowing up my anchor line. As soon as I put the paddles down, it gave me enough drag to where I wasn't blowing up my anchor line. It was too deep to anchor for the poles to touch, but I was able to use those paddles to create drag, and it made me be in the perfect position. I like the paddles.
Love the paddles, apparently. All right, well, I know I'll be getting some Yeti lower frustration bites this weekend on Lake Travis with guide Preston Dana. But Matt Reed, I know you're gonna tell us all about the bites on Lake Amistad and Somerville. Also, thanks for setting that up. I can't wait, I'm so excited.
Looking forward to it.
Woo.
Woo.
Woo, let's get
All
to
right,
it.
come on, Matt, tell me.
Tell you want to talk about little largemouth bass? Let's do that. Let's start down south at Lake Falcon. Bass are biting really well down there right now. You know, there's several ways you can catch them. The crankbait, the football jig, and the Carolina rig soft plastics are really doing the trick. You know, on the upper end of the lake, the fish are still shallow. They're on the shallow ledge rock and the old house foundations on the upper end, and some of that stuff's only in 2 to 5 foot. The Azuma square boss crankbait in either blue moon or school bus colors are my favorite way to attack those shallow rocks. I mean, that's a square bill that'll run up to about 4 or 5 foot. When you go down the lake to the mid-lake area, on down to the dam, the fish are relating to the same kind of cover, the ledge rock and the old house foundations. But, I mean, they're obviously deeper. They're in that 8 to 18-foot range. The Azuma Z-Boss 20 crankbait and blue moon or Seabowl summer colors are best for that right now. The football jig and the Carolina rig soft plastics are also producing in those areas. You know, my favorite color of plastics down there are going to be red bug in the summer, you know, plum, something kind of red shade. And that kind of covers us for Falcon. I'm going to move on to a bass report on Lake Amistad. You know, Amistad's still coming down really fast with the spring irrigation release. Lake is now close to 30-foot low. That sounds real low. It's not that bad. You know, the lake's still in pretty good shape and has some color due to the falling water, and the wind's been blowing a lot lately, a lot of high wind. But that makes the fishing incredible when the water's falling. There's quite a few different techniques working right now. Lightweight, soft plastics, and medium running crankbaits and swim baits are doing really good over the hydrilla, over the grass in that 10 to 15-foot range. Top water swim jigs and some light pitching stuff around shallow cover and grass 0 to 10 foot is another pattern that's working real good. Some of the summer fish are already starting to move out there at Amistad. They're out on the main lake, and they're on those river ledges that really drop vertical out there. They'll drop 25 to 50 foot on the top down into the river channel. So get you a drop shot with a little, you know, watermelon red soft plastic or a big football jig and probe those areas at Amistad, and you could catch you a really big one.
So, Matt, tell me about this photo, bub, and then I'm going to talk about the Navionics.
All right. That photo is at the mouth of the Tigers at Falcon. Oh, the photo, excuse me. Jim Hovis, customer of mine at Falcon a little while back with a 9+ caught on the Z-Boss 20 crankbait. Just an awesome fish.
All right, so let me get these Navionics. We're going to go ahead and take a look at them now. Now, Matt was talking about Falcon and talking about all these sites, these house sites. Also, he was talking about the rocks. Now, the key part about what Navionics gives us through the sonar charts, guys, is if we look at the next map, what you're gonna see is this was when he sent me this GPS coordinates. I punched it right in. The one thing that I'm noticing here, whether it's a guy that caught a fish here and he loaded it up on the community layer, or the GPS spot that Matt gave me, or even this spot where somebody else caught a fish in here, is all of them are on the drop-offs. Now, obviously, Matt says use crankbaits. He was just talking about it. That's the key. Use those crankbaits, use those football jig heads. Make sure that you bounce along those drop-offs. The tighter the lines, the quicker the drop-off. Now, guys, I've been messing it up. I said Platinum Plus charts would get you a $50 rebate back. Nope. I messed up. It's Select Plotters is what's going to make it work. Through July 31st, you can see your local retailers for all those details to get that $50 back from Navionics. All right, Matt, continue and tell me what else you got.
All right, we're going to roll fast. We'll do a little more bass on Lake Buchanan. They're biting shallow. There's a few lake spawners still there. That's in the Austin area. Flipping those trees 1 to 5 foot. Also want a wake bait. We're going to change species right quick. Let's go to the catfish. Catfish on Lake Amistad are biting really well on baited holes on the backside of windy gravel points and fishing shallow in that 5 to 7 foot range with cheese bait under a slip cart. That picture we've got there is Ray Hanselman's customers the other day with a cooler full of channeling blue cat.
Nice. All right, so give me what else you got for your region.
I got one more quick thing. Hybrid stripers on Lake Somerville are being caught drifting live shad down near the dam in 15 or 20 foot, and there's a lot of action there to be had.
Hey, I got a quick question for you. Those stripers, is that an early morning bite, late afternoon bite, or is it throughout the whole day, bub?
You know, it's better early in the morning when they're up and active a little bit, but you can do that all through the day, Rick.
All right, I can't wait to come out and fish with you. Make sure my girl Bree returns home safe. She's coming this weekend. All right, you got to be the daddy.
All right, we'll get her taken care of.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh region hotspots. Matt says largemouth bass are on fire in Lake Amistad in 5 to 10 feet of water around the grass and the brush cover. And then hybrid striped bass on Lake Somerville. The hybrid stripers are active in the dam on live shad.
I can take care of my own self.
I know, but you know, Daddy likes.
You know where I'm going?
No.
The iHeart Country Festival in Austin.
What?
And then I'm fishing on Sunday. Woo woo! What a great weekend.
I don't remember getting that picky.
You didn't. All right, taking a bite out of our Middle Coast region is your Captain Bink Grimes, giving you the inside scoop from Surfside down to Port O'Connor. What's happening on the beachfront, Bink?
Well, our tides are still real high from these stiff southerly winds, and it's pushing a lot of our fish right to the grass, and where the waders can cast to the reefs and work the sand pockets and just about anything right up tight on the grass. Around Freeport, Bastrop, and Christmas Bay, fish are all over the reef. We're talking trout now. Best bite has been on live shrimp, casted off the edge of the reefs. Along with that, there's also some black drum and small redfish. For one day last week, the surf cost up a good catch of trout. The problem was there's only a handful of waders that took advantage of it, probably because most of us don't get in that surf mode until probably late May. But when you have a warm winter and spring like we've had, we're about 3 weeks ahead. And what we do with this surf deal, we pack a rod, a few plugs, a change of clothes, and we have a kind of a side satchel ready to head down to the surf when, after work, and that could happen this weekend because we got a little cold front coming through here. On the backside of that cold front, the surf ought to get really, really flat. In Palacios, guide Ray Sexton said that the trout bite on croakers has been excellent while wading. He's worked the south shoreline of West Matagorda Bay most days and concentrated wading on the flats with high tides. He said most of his trout are hanging about 40 to 50 yards off the shoreline. In Matagorda, guide Tommy Alexander has been wading and drifting with Norton bull minnows and catching limit. Again, the high tide has him wading tight to the shoreline with shell, and while drifting, he's making long floats around slicks and flipping mullet for trout to about 5 pounds. At Port O'Connor, guide Lynn Smith said he's been doing great on protected shorelines for solid trout in the 18 to 24 inch class. Most of the fish have come on live bait, but plastics have produced as well. We also, this time of year when we get these influx of tides, it sends a lot of sand trout into our bay, and they're often not targeted. They're kind of a bycatch when we're fishing for trout. We sometimes call the large ones Gulf trout because they're riding the tide, the Gulf tide in. You can catch fish to 2 pounds, and it's not uncommon to catch just a mess of big old Gulf trout. Sometimes I'll have a limit of trout, and I'll have 5 or 6 big old Gulf trout that's bigger than any speckled trout that I have. Cajuns call them white trout for the white fillets. We call them just excellent table fare for ceviche and light, crisp, really, really good fillets.
Tell me about this photo, bub.
Yeah, there's a fish by Captain Ken Marshall. He was drifting, got an 8-pound trout there in East Matagorda Bay under a mid-coast popping cork.
All right, give me some redfish.
Let's switch to redfish. There's lots of shrimp in our bays. Our bait shrimpers are having no problem keeping the tanks full at the bait camps. When that's the case, our fishing is normally just great. Guide Randall Groves said he has caught good redfish on Black Magic Norton sand eels in the back lakes on windy days around Freeport and Bastrop Bay. The same patterns holding around Palacios and Matagorda, around Crab Lake, Oyster Lake, Coon Island, holding a lot of fish on live shrimp and mullet. Tides are really high again, and the fish are right on top of the shell. Waders have found those redfish tight to the grass with bloated tides. Those small shrimp hide in the grass with the high tides, and the reds literally root them out with their nose. If you see a shrimp hopping on the grass, make a cast to it. There's a chance that there's a redfish underneath it. Best bet for reds is continue along the beach as well. Slot-sized reds have been caught in the first gut, and bull reds are right on the other side of the second gut, right off the tip of all the jetties. Surfside, Port O'Connor jetty. They're using cracked crabs, free-line and Gulf shrimp, or Carolina rigged.
You got about a minute left for your offshore, partner.
Yeah. Man, red snapper is still good in state waters. That's a good thing because the feds today told us that we've only got 3 days of federal red snapper season from June 1st to June 3rd, and that's not sitting well with a lot of people. In Matagorda, there's a lot of cobia, a lot of kingfish, and there's a lot of tarpon along the beachfront. The cobia and the kingfish are really doing good because our temperatures are in the 79 to 80 degrees, and the water are also showing up on the deep.
All right, you done? Don't you got a photo for me of a tarpon? You there,
I think
Bink?
that's a tarpon to me.
He must have hung up on me. So guess what? I read this. Tell me, Bink.
I'm sorry. There's a photo there of Captain Michael Quebec's boat. They hooked the tarpon on the way home, and you can see it jumping right there. Great photo with a Matagorda skyline in the backdrop. So pretty good.
All right, thanks for sticking with us there, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Coast region hotspots. Inshore, trout and redfish, beachfront from the surf side to Port O'Connor. Throw topwaters and soft plastics for the trout. Toss finger mullet in the first gut for the redfish. And then offshore, wahoos, cobias, and kingfish. Wahoos are on the deeper rips and the trash lines. Kingfish and cobias are good around the rigs.
Hey, you know what? Bink looks like a bronze goddess in his photo. I'll tell you what. All right, talking about Port O'Connor, Rick, CCA Texas and Building Conservation Trust, CCA's Habitat Program, provided $600,000 to help with the permitting for the Keeping It Wild Reef. The 361-acre reef was actually deployed a couple of weeks ago, about 6 miles offshore from the Port O'Connor jetties and Matagorda Island. This official reef will artificial reef will provide critical habitat for marine species and will benefit recreational anglers, divers, and coastal communities for years to come. CCA, the leader in marine conservation and habitat restoration. Dang, they've got a great.
What's so awesome is the Building Conservation Trust and how they help CCA.
Yeah.
And more importantly, they match funds that they raise. I love that business model.
Yep, they're doing so much for the state. All right, we have one more region here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and that's the Lower Coast, but not before we check in with Dave at the CCA Workbench for some new product action that you won't want to miss.
What could it be? Is it a hand warmer?
What
Is it a brooch?
Is it a hat?
It could be a hat.
Let's see it.
I don't
Let's
know.
see it.
I can't get it open. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
Velcro.
Definitely a hat. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it's a hat.
It's a hat.
I like it,
We'll be
Dave.
back, guys. Find out what it is.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder. Rapala. Catch the latest at rapala.com. Yeti, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Well, Texas, we're here at the CCA Workbench, and new products is something that we do every week.
Yes, we do.
And my man, Dave Farrell, is my man about town and new products.
Yes, we're going to start talking about the new Terminator Poppin' Frog. We were talking about frogs earlier, and I held this one back. But it's a different type of frog. You know, there's a lot of different frogs now coming out with this pop-in front. And it's really a cool. It makes a great sound when you pop that thing. You know, in the past, soft plastic, being it's soft.
Right.
Soft plastic baits didn't make good poppers. You know,
Right.
they didn't have the technology down in the front. You know, after about a week or so, the fronts wouldn't even pop anymore. But this thing is, you know, a very hard edge around the
Right.
mouth there, so it pops like crazy. A really good sound. It's got lifelike legs. The body is really soft, so when they eat it, it collapses.
It mashes,
and they've got
the hook exposes.
Exactly,
the hook.
and that's one of the features of this too. They have a really wide gap between, you know, for the hook.
Right.
So when the fish comes up and eats that thing, and he will come up and eat it, he's going to get that big mouthful of that hook. They walk great too, right out of
Loaded
the
up
package.
with the VMC hooks.
Yep, they are VMC, and it'll walk. You know, you can walk that like a top dog or something.
No kidding.
Yeah, it'll walk.
I
yeah.
think I might want to try to throw one of these to a redfish to see what happens.
I missed 2 big fish on it this week.
What?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It was my fault. It was my fault. Let's just put it that way. All right, the next thing we got is the salty snack from Saltwater Assassin, and these are really cool. Look, you know, solid bait.
Right.
With a ribbed action on the outside of it. Supposedly those give away little vibrations as it's moving through the water. Nice long tail. It floats just like it is. When it hits the water, it'll float horizontally. You know, it won't do a dive like that. The way when it comes with these 5/0 hooks,
right?
And you get 1 hook and 3 baits for $6.99, which is awesome.
Nice.
It's getting like you're getting 3 baits.
You know, the first Bass Assassin bait that I saw was the Boss Shiner. And
Right.
what I noticed that it did was, you know, so many baits want to, as you twitch them, they want to slide.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what these ribs, again, this is only my
Hold
opinion.
it straight.
It made it, you could slow down. So it didn't have that continual glide, you know, so you could really manipulate the action because these were like little wings that slowed it down along the body.
Well, this thing was made to catch big trout. That's what it was made for.
And
It's
I bet it
designed to
does.
catch trophy trout.
Oh,
So
wow.
Saltwater Assassin, the salty snack, comes in all
Walk the dog, baby.
It comes in all the good colors. All right, this is not a hat.
No.
I know it fits my little tiny head, but these are reel covers, and they're made by
yeah.
Sportfish Reel Covers. These are conventional sizes here. I think that one fits an 80 wide. These are completely customizable. You can put all kinds. Look, she's got all kinds. These are like a little Russian
What
nesting
I
doll.
like
She's got 15
is
of them in here.
That you can, they're different sizes, but as far as carrying, or more importantly, you know how you're always, when you get the location and you're fishing, you're always chasing your reel covers.
Right.
This was really somebody thinking about so that you could put your covers inside together.
Yeah, you could for sure. These will keep your stuff, the salt off everything. They make them for fly reels, also spinning reels as well. You know, seven different types of these
Love
things, all different sizes.
Now, what is this big thing, Dave?
Oh, this thing is really cool. This is a big sunbrella. It's called Always Shady Sun Systems, and what you can do is you can mount this on the back of your seat.
Oh, okay.
Like a helm seat with a ram mount. It comes with a ram mount. So you can come, 63 inches of vinyl, and it's shade wherever you want to put it. You know?
What?
Yeah, and this
And
thing
then
is
you can tilt it.
completely adjustable, however you want to adjust it. Once you get it on there, you know, you can do whatever you want with this thing, and you can just mount that ram ball on a gunnel or something if you want to. You didn't have to be on the chair, but this is the chair bracket that it comes with.
Pretty work.
68 inches, man.
68 inches.
That's
Hey,
right.
Bree.
Mary Poppins over there, Dave.
That's right. Spoonful of sugar.
Spoonful of sugar. Exactly. All right, next up is Captain Chad Keeney from the lower coast region reporting on the bite from Rockport down to Laguna Madre. Go for it, Chad.
Port guys coming up for inshore down here, heading out of Port Mansfield again, head up to the north land cut, look for redfish on the west shorelines, all the way up to the land cut, up to Gladys's Hole, and fish drop-offs on the ICW for the trout in the adjacent grass beds there. So on the redfish, when you're heading up to the west shoreline here, you can try all the way up, like I said, all the way up north. You got about a 20-mile stretch all the way through there, so all the way up to land cut. So they've been close to the bank. So try early. What I'd try is a Rapala skitter walk early in the morning and move to a soft plastic. Try like a saltwater assassin. We were using a Slammin' Chicken, and it worked really good. But the best bet is try to stay, those redfish been up close to the bank there, maybe up to 100 yards or so. So the best deal is to try wade fishing. It's more productive. And that way, when I'm saying productive, you can actually get up there and walk down that bank and cover more ground. You get on the fish, you can slow down, you can stay on them. If you're a drift fisherman, that's fine. You can still be productive. But the only thing is when you drift through there, you only got about 100 yards of productive water. And so you'll probably get 2, 3, 4 casts depending on the wind. And if you do, just make multiple drifts. But when you do, probably just idle out there and move up to the next section and go in and keep repeating that pattern. Don't try to idle back and fish back to your prop washer. You won't have much success that way. So moving on to the trout fishing. Trout fishing was really good despite all our winds. We've had some abnormally high winds this past week, but I went up to the ICW, which is the Intercoastal Waterway, so that runs all the way up and down the coast here. And the best bet we had was free line and live bait. Use like a 5-odd Kail hook right now if you're using finger mullet, piggies, croaker. The current's really strong. I'd attach like a chatterweight to your main line, using like a 20, 25-pound fluorocarbon for your leader. And just best thing to do is power pull down right on the edge of the drop-off there. It'll go from 15 feet right up to 3 foot where you can reach your 3-foot side, your 15-foot side. So if you got 2 power poles, it's even better. Just stick them down, get your spot, throw off on the drop-off on the edge of the grass beds. And when you get a bite, since you're using that live bait like that, keep your rod tip kind of up. You get a bite, just kind of bend down with them, give them a little bit like that. Reason is those fish always eat head first, so you got to give them a little bit of time to get to the hook before you go ahead and set it. And fishing those grass beds, keep that bait moving a little bit. If I say moving, just twitch that rod tip with your wrist real hard and don't consistently reel them back and forth because that'll create flow of the water through the back of the gills of the bait and you'll just fish a dead bait. So I got a decent pick there of a nice trout. Morgan Tyler caught a nice speck there, about 22 inch. We had a box full of them, so it was a good fish in there.
It looks like some good fishing. All right, let's talk about some flounder, big man.
Yeah, moving on to flounder, they're starting to show up. Look for some hard sand bottoms and the guts where the tidal flow is at. Pretty much try any favorite 3-inch soft plastic you got with a 1/4-ounce jig head and do a real slow retrieve and work that whole area over. So best thing if you're wading fishing for that one, also take a landing net. Those things, like to spit the hook out, so just kind of slide them in your net. Excuse me there. And we got a picture of a nice flounder there too. That was actually my daughter there, Kirsten Kinney. She got about a 21-inch flounder on that one.
All right, let's go ahead and take offshore. I know it's been windy, but what do you got?
It's been windy for the deep blue water stuff, but that's coming in. So still, the good news is state water snapper still holding really, really good on the out of Mansfield here. So you get 4 per person per day. But the offshore is great on that. The wahoo and dorado, everything's gonna be coming in. I was even out today, matter of fact, and saw sorghasm out there snapper fishing. So the weed lines are gonna be out there. Everything's gonna be ready for us. The water temps are good. Everything's ready. So right now, for everybody out there, I'd go ahead and make sure you're prepared, get ready. Get your best arsenal of lures out there, such as like a Rapala diver, cedar plugs, some long and mid-range lures. Go ahead and get to those weed lines when it comes. And if you best thing to do is if you get cut off for some reason, you're rigged up with mono, go to a wire or a cable leader. And after each bite, check your leader, your bait, make sure there's a hook set still even sitting on the bait, and check for your nicks in your leader.
Hey, I got a question for you, Chad. So you said about using a wire leader for those wahoos. How heavy a wire do you like to go with?
I try to go as light as possible just because I'm more superstitious as far as eyesight. So I'd probably start with about 150 pound.
All right, well, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the lower coast region hotspots. Inshore, redfish and trout. North land cut out of Port Mansfield. Look for redfish on the west shorelines or in Glady's Hole, I'm sorry. fish the drop-offs on the ICW for trout in the adjacent grass beds. And then offshore, snappers in state waters. Those snappers are on structures out of Port Mansfield, and it is holding some fish.
Fish. Well,
Fish.
there you have it, guys. A whole show in the bag, ready to go fishing for the weekend.
So, Bree, you
I'm
ready
to go fishing for the weekend at least. Yeah, I'm going with a.
I'm going tomorrow.
Dave,
You
are
are?
you going? What are you going to go fish for tomorrow, Dave?
Snook.
You going snook fishing?
Yeah, right outside my hotel. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like
It's
it.
a nice marina, and I had 2 big blow-ups last week and early in the morning, so I got to go back there and try to catch them now that I've embarrassed me. I've been getting a lot of embarrassment lately. I'm due. I'm ready to catch one.
So, guys, if you have a question for me, or even if you have a question for Dave,
Or
we're not
me.
gonna ever ask Bree anything.
Wow.
Because we don't know where
Whoa.
that's going to go. But you can certainly just go to our website and submit your question. We'd love to hear from you.
Facebook, too.
And if you want to do
Facebook,
a
yeah.
video, make sure that you turn your phone sideways so that
Horizontal.
we actually have a really cool
Yeah.
video.
Products at
That'll help us all alive.
CaptainRickMurphy.com.
If you want all your products on the
Yeah.
show,
Products at
All right, guys.
CaptainRickMurphy.com.
have a
See
good
you.
weekend,
Thanks for
and we'll
watching,
see you
guys.
next week.